Hey everyone, we are going to go ahead and go over lesson 5.1 just as review. So a ratio is a comparison of two quantities using division. Remember, we would usually write those as fractions. And a proportion is when we are setting two ratios equal to one another. Now, if you remember the key concept, it says property of proportions, that if we want to solve proportions, we have to cross multiply. And this is being weird. Okay, so the first example, it says the total number of students who participate in sports programs at Central High School is 520. The total number of students in the school is 1,850. Find the athlete to student ratio to the nearest tenth. So if they want athlete to student, that means athlete, since that came first, that has to be in the numerator, and the total students needs to be in the denominator. So we are just writing the ratio, so it's just going to be one fraction. So it says the total number of students who participate in sports is 520. So that's going to be 520 over the total number of students is 1,850. And then we always reduce our fractions, so we would have 52 over 185. Which is approximately 0.28. They did ask for it to the nearest tenth, so that's approximately 0.3. So take a moment, try the your turn, and then come back and we will go through it together. All right, so for the your turn, it says the longest school year is China, who has 251 days. They want the ratio of school days to total days in a year, okay? So China has 251 school days. It tells us to use 365 as how many days are in the year. So if we take 251 divided by 365, it did ask for the nearest tenth, so that would be 0.69, which is approximately 0.7. So if we look at that, that answer is C. All right, next example, it says, in a triangle, the ratio of the measures of the three sides is 5 to 12 to 13, and the perimeter is 90 centimeters. Find the measure of the shortest side of the triangle. So for this one, they told us the perimeter, and we know to find the perimeter of any shape, we simply add up all its sides. So we don't actually know the length of each side, so we're going to call the length of each side x. So we're going to do 5x plus 12x plus 13x, and we are calling them all the same thing because it's some type of ratio. There's something common between them. So that's equal to 90. If we add 5 plus 12 plus 13, we get 30x is equal to 90. Divide both sides by 30, we get x is equal to 3. If you notice, that's none of our answers. So what we have to do, it says find the measure of the shortest side. So I could find the length of each side, but if I'm taking 5 times x, 12 times x, and 13 times x, 5 times whatever x is going to be our smallest side. So 5 times 3 is equal to 15. So 15 centimeters is our solution for that one. Take another moment, try the your turn, pause the video, and then come back and we'll do that one together. Right, so if we go through the your turn, same thing. We have 3x plus 4x plus 5x is equal to 42 feet because it's the perimeter. 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 12x equals 42. Divide both sides by 12. We get x is 3.5. But this time they want the longest side of the triangle. So 5 is the largest number, so that's going to be the biggest side. So if we take 5 times 3.5, we get 17.5 feet is the longest side of the triangle. And if you're unsure which one's the longest, you could take 3 times 3.5, 4 times 3.5, and then 5 times 3.5 and just see which number is the largest. All right, so moving on to example 3 now. It's asking us to solve this proportion by using cross products or cross multiplication. So remember, when we do this, the equal sign always stays in the middle. Always, always, always. So I have my equal sign in the middle. I put the little arrows there. They're crisscrossing, hence cross multiplication, and they tell you where everything goes. So I will have 6 times y on the right side and 18.2 times 9 on the left side. If you multiply 18.2 times 9, we get 163.8 equals 6y. Divide both sides by 6, you get 27.3. Now for part B, it's a little bit different because we have an expression on the left side numerator. We are going to do the exact same thing. Remember, the equal sign always stays in the middle. So we have 6 times the quantity, 4x minus 5, and that right there is really big. You need to make sure you put that expression in parentheses. And then we have 3 times negative 26. So 3 times negative 26 is negative 78. And then we need to distribute the 6 to both the 4x and the 5. So we get 24x minus 30. Let me fix that so that looks a little bit better. There we go, negative 78. So I'm going to add 30 to both sides. So we get negative 48 is equal to 24x. And then x is going to equal negative 2. We can check this by substituting it back in. So if I take 4 times negative 2, that's negative 8. Negative 8 minus 5 is negative 13 over 3. And does that equal negative 26 over 6? Yes, if I simplify negative 26 over 6, if I divide them each by 2, I get negative 13 over 3 is equal to negative 13 over 3. So therefore we know our answer is correct. All right, take a moment. Try the 2 U-turns A and B. So pause the video, try those, come back. You can check your work to make sure you did them right. All right, fourth example. It says a boxcar on a train has a length of 40 feet and a width of 9 feet. A scale model is made with a length of 16 inches. We have to find the width of the model. So the biggest thing on setting up a proportion is consistency. There's 4 different ways to set up every proportion. You just have to be consistent. So they are talking about length and width. So I'm going to go ahead and put length up top in the numerator, width in the denominator. So there's 2 things we're looking at. We're looking at the actual and the scale model. So one fraction is going to be my fraction for length and width of the actual. The other fraction is going to be the length and width for the model. I'm going to go ahead and do the actual first. So the length is 40 feet. The width is 9 feet. And that is going to equal, scale model is made with a length of 16 inches, so that goes in the numerator, and a width we do not know. So I'm going to call that x. And now here we have our proportion that we can set up and solve. So I'm going to do 9 times 16 is equal to 40x. 9 times 16 is 144. And then if I divide both sides by 40, I get x is equal to 3.6. So one thing I want to point out to you is that when you set up a proportion, your units do not have to be the same. However, when you write one single ratio, so the ratio of my model, they both have to be in inches. The ratio of my actual, they both have to be in feet. And if you do those things, your answer will come out correct. Take a moment, try the next your turn, then we'll go over it. And it's the last one. Right, so two cylindrical containers are in proportion. The height of the larger container is 25 meters with a diameter of 8 meters. The height of the smaller container is 7 meters. Find the diameter of the smaller container. So we are looking at height and diameter. All right, so I'm going to do the larger one first. So if I do my larger container, if I do the height, that's 25 meters over a diameter of 8 meters. The height of the smaller container is 7, and the diameter we don't know, so I'm going to call that x again. When we cross multiply, we get 25x is equal to 56, because 7 times 8 is 56. And then if we divide both sides by 25, we get x is 2.24, and that is in meters. All right, so that's it. You can go ahead and try your practice work for this section.